Hello everyone and welcome to the Porsche 935 and BMW M2 Multiclass, hosted by Pitskill.io and sponsored by SimQuips. I'm your host Roy Waller, and tonight, the season finale, we are here at Donington Park Raceway, and as our Porsches take to the track for qualifying, we'll take a quick look at the standings in their class, and is Rhys Tattersall, our series champion, leading the way, followed by Matthew Parry, Balazs Fahir, Ben Lopard, Remy Thomas, Thomas Perello, Stupa Skapas, Chris Wright, Fliners Nitro, and John Sawyer. And looking like P3 is the space to watch, where Balazs Fahir and Ben Lopard separated by just 1 point. Who's going to take the bronze trophy this season? As we'll go on board with Matthew Parry for our first flying lap of the session, going through the trainer curves. Well, always looks like a little bit of a handful, not the most grip, and we can see that prime example of that as Matthew Parry pushing somewhat wide of the apex. Move on the power. We'll be getting a little bit of a slipstream from Perello, who's currently on his outlap, and absolutely mullers the tyre barrier. Doing the community service of getting that one out of the way for everyone. Seeming like speedy hands there for Matthew Parry as he wrestles control of his car. Hard on the brakes into the hairpin. Goes in all locked up. But first time on the board is a 1:27.3 for Matthew Parry. Will be followed by Balazs Fahir with a 1:28.8, some 1.5 seconds off the pace at the moment. Fliners Nitro, 2.5 seconds off the pace. John Sawyer crosses the line just a mere 7.5 tenths off the pace. A 1:28.1. As our drivers head on to their second lap, the Ben Lopard currently in contention for that P3 in the championship. It's a battle between Lopard and Fahir that we'll have to keep an eye on in this race. 1 point separates them, though remains to see how that will shake out when drop rounds come into play. Who else has set a time? Stupa Skapas, who's sitting on a 1:28.6. And our series sponsor, Mr. Chris Simquips Wright, down in P8 on a 1:30.8. 3.5 seconds off the pace there. It was an opening gambit from Wright. Well, imagine he'd be finding a bit more time throughout this session. Yes, I would certainly hope so. Thomas Perello has put his car P3, or was P2, now P3. 5.5 tenths off. 55 hundredths, however you want to put it. But John Sawyer has jumped him for P2. Just 0.28 seconds off the pace of Matthew Parry, who has not improved on his second lap. As Ben Lopard put it into P4, just ahead of Fahir, so giving us a tantalising prospect for tonight's race. As Lopard in a little bit. Oh, well, thankfully the traffic gets nicely out of the way there for Lopard, and he can continue on his way. Balazs Fahir currently 3 tenths behind Ben Lopart is finding some time on this lap. Could be an improvement coming the way of Faye here to jump up to P3. 2 positions ahead of Ben Lopart. Matthew Parry, still the driver, setting the pace at the front of the field. Really attacking the crane of curves. And just about keeping it on track on the exit. Also going quickly behind. Also have the return of Hef Martin, unfortunately seemingly without delivery for tonight's race. As Matthew Parry comes into the final sector, and this is a solid looking lap from our provisional pole sitter. Just under 3 minutes remaining for qualifying for the Porsches. And 1 corner to go for Harry. This could be a sizable improvement. He buries the throttle, heads to the line at 1:27.160. Almost half a second clear of the rest of the field. Matthew Parry going strong. As Balashve hit descends onto another lap. We're going to see the limits of the pace here for our Porsches. No one seemingly improving late on in this session. Wonder if the tyre wear these cars do exhibit becomes a factor in the short qualifying sessions as well. There's 1 corner to go here for Fahit. And with the pace he's finding, this could see him with a sizable advantage over Ben Lopart as we head into the race. There's no improvements coming out for the rest of our field, other than John Sawyer looking to find a little bit more pace. As the clock ticks to the halfway point through the sessions, and we will see our BMWs take to the track. We'll keep with John Sawyer, just currently just over 2/10 off of Balazs Fahir's time. Will this be an opportunity to get onto the second row of the grid for Sawyer? As Chris Wright gets well out of the way. Will be no doubt abandoning this lap. And unfortunately, in the final sector that time, did slip away from John Sawyer and will remain in P3 as we head back to head on over to our BMWs for their qualifying session. And let's take a look at the standings in this class, and it is Jan Ilatalo leading the way, ahead of Rostak Svoboda, Anthony Vitchespel, Jakub Vorovic, Jules Flint, Michael Lorenzon, Atta Kalaskan, Michael Minsky, Lennon Bromfield, and Christopher Elberg. Again, it is the E3 battle, which is our closest, with Anthony Vitchespel and Jakub Borovic battling that one out, but Rostak Svoboda not all comfortable there in P2. One bad race could see that silver medal slip away. As we go on board with Van Dijk, this is how the BMWs tackle this Donington Park circuit. It's an opening gambit. It is always tricky to find the grip on an early lap with these cars. No tyre blankets. All tyre warm-up is done by the drivers themselves. Into final couple of corners. And crossing the line for a 1:40.7. That's our opening lap in the BMWs. As Anthony Vitchespel going on to their first flying lap at the moment. It is Van Dijk setting the pace, or was Van Dijk setting the pace, but it is Jan Ilatalo, our championship leader and well, series champion at the moment, in an unassailable position. And they have shown they're in a class of their own across this season. Having this least powerful of the offerings in Assetto Corsa Competizione. And Ilatalo finding even more pace on this lap, as Jakub Borovic has gone to provisional pole position with a 1:40.182. I think that time is about to be cleanly blown out of the water. And Ilatalo, yeah, backing off and looking to make a gap for another run. Meeting a little bit of traffic. Is that the car of Cook up ahead? Yes, it is. Ilatalo backing off. We'll have two more runs at it. We'll hope for a bit more space on this lap. Currently find themselves 2/10 off the pace. You see the pace difference here between Ilatalo and Cook. About 1.2 seconds on their best, and well, on the last lap around, Ilatalo was about 6/10 up, so more to find there. And that, oh, was that a pull Cook in the wall? I think it was, and we're going to go back and get a replay of that. I think that was coming out the top, going slightly wide, a little bit too much steering angle, and head first into the tyre barrier. That won't do your car much good. But we will check back in with Ilatalo. He has 2 corners left to go on this lap, with both Borovic and Van Dijk ahead. 1/10 needed to take Van Dijk. 2/10 for Borovic. And I think Ilatalo might have just about enough. As they cross the line, finding over a second for 1:39.342, putting them 8/10 clear of their nearest competitor, and they don't even feel the need to go for another push lap. There seems to be a problem with liveries up and down the fields today at a Kalaskan Sans livery. We have Chappelle and Van Dijk going quickly on their respective laps. These are the battles over P2 and P3. Sorry, P3 and 4. Also, actually, I think Van Dijk potentially with a run in there for P2. So you can hook up the final corner. Is there damage to the front of that car? Or is that just a black stripe along the bumper? I think it's just a black stripe, but it does make it look like there's a humongous panel gap. As at a Kalaskan up into P2 with a 1:39.8. Still about half a second off of our fastest driver on the grid. As we come into the final minute of our session now, a lot of our drivers on what will be their final attempt. And we have appearing for, I think, what might be a first to last attempt is our championship winner, Reece Tattersall, will be starting this race from the back of the grid to see how far forward he can get. While there's still action in this qualifying session, we will try and cover it all as Peter Jorgensen needs just 0.2 of a second. And could see them jumping up towards the top 2 or 3. Awfully close behind Ilatalo. Just one corner remaining for Jorgensen. Nice and easy does it, and this could be a sizable improvement up into E4 for Jorgensen, ahead of Van Dijk. Not quite enough. Take P3 away from Jakub Borovic, but a valiant attempt nonetheless. And that will round out our qualifying session for tonight's race. Welcome back everyone as our drivers line up on the grid for tonight's race. We are but moments away from starting our 30-minute sprint race here at Donington Park Raceway. Mind a few of the format of our races here in the Pitskill.io Porsche 935 and BMW M2 Multiclass. It is a 30-minute sprint race with a mandatory pit stop with fixed refueling time of 25 seconds and an optional additional 5 seconds to change those tyres. So always some interesting strategies we do see in these races. These especially the 935s, very hard on their tyres, and yeah, can be advantageous to get on to some fresher rubber. But for tonight's race, it is Matthew Parry who will be starting race from pole position. Has the nice clean inside run down to the first corner, and racing him down to there will be Balazs Fahir in the sparkly unicorn car. Starting from P2 in this race, will we see the famous Fahir train running behind him, or will he be challenging for the lead to head into turn one with Matthew Parry? John Sawyer starting from E3 leads our second row on the grid. Strong qualifying performance for them, and they'll be starting alongside Jeremy Thomas in the number 714 car. P5 is Thomas Pirello in the unmissable bright yellow liveried car, and they'll be starting alongside Ben Lopart. Lopart, who is in contention for P3 in the series. There's a lot of work to do if he wants to try and get himself up ahead of Balazs Fahir, who's starting in P2. But never say never with these multi-class races. Anything can happen, especially when the traffic gets involved. Stupa Skapas starting from P7. He'll be starting alongside Sampa Paltari. Young King is in P9, and he will be starting alongside our series sponsor Chris Wright, who seems to be trying to race his way to a win before the formation lap is even over. Needs to be careful not to pick himself up a penalty. As Hef Martin will be starting this race from P10. And people have got themselves all out of order. In P12 is Linus Nitro in the Linux liveried Porsche. And then we come on to the first of our BMWs. On pole position will be our championship leader Jan Ilatalo. Will be starting alongside Atta Kalaskan, who is missing his Splatoon livery tonight. There was an easy car to see before, but will be a distinguishable carbon livery today. In P15, P3 in class is Jakob Borovic, who's starting alongside Maya van Dijk. In P5 in class is Peter Jorgensen. He'll be starting alongside Antovic Chappelle, who is P18 now overall grid. Jules Flint in P19 with Roshan Saboda starting down in P20, quite far back for his championship prospects. Marco Lorenzon in P21 with Mikhail Minsky in P22. Benjamin Odin Vedbeck is in P23 with Lolo Nitro in P24. Paul Cook P25 with Victor Isvanesh in P26. Victor Podo is in P27, then Beams P28. Martin Coy in P29, and Reece Tattersall at the back of the grid in P30. Who's aiming for a last to first run. Back to the front of the grid as we get ready for the green light, as Matthew Parry will lead us away. And it is a good run from Matthew Parry, squeezing Balazs Fahir to the outside of the track, and he takes or maintains the lead through turn one as we got battling behind as we come down through the crane of curves. Can't see any clouds of dust in the background, so I'm going to assume that means everyone has made it through relatively unscathed. Although saying that, I can see Jan Yelitalo has dropped down the order. So what has happened for the BMW race start? Going down into the first corner. Oh, and there is the first of our bumps. There's Yelitalo runs wide, and that has allowed 2 cars by. There's White, the carnage. Yelitalo narrowly avoiding getting sideswiped there. Yelitalo down in P4 in the BMWs, and up at the front of the field in the Porsches is Matthew Parry with 1.4 second lead over Balazs Feher as Parry goes mowing the lawn. Groundkeepers here at Donington won't be especially pleased with that, as Feher doing what he does best and starting to gather a little bit of a train behind him. At the moment, it's only 5 cars within a second of each other. This is a poor showing from Balazs Feher. Expect to see the entirety of the Porsche grid join this train for too long. And further down the order, we have got Super Skapas all over the back of Chris Wright. And a good positioning for the inside. We'll have the inside again as we crest the hill through the apex. Chris Wright getting somewhat unsighted there at the braking point offline. And Super Skapas up into 10. And still leading this train through. Balazs Feher, E2 in this race. 2.2 seconds back from our race leader, but behind him we have got John Sawyer, Jeremy Thomas, Ben Lopard and Thomas Perello. Ben Lopard will want to keep well in with this fight, and within touching distance of Balazs Feher at the moment. The gap between them only 1.5 seconds due to how close these cars are running. As up at the front of the BMW field, and Yelitalo currently just 0.3 seconds back from Jorgensen. And with 26 minutes remaining, Yelitalo will be looking for a way to move forward, but Super Skapas has dropped down the order. Was running ahead of Chris Wright, so what has happened here? They come through the right-handers, all seemingly under control. Oh, and there's a little bit too much of the apex cut. And he is down to the back of the field. I want to say back of the field. Now Chris Wright is down here joining him. So not sure what's happened to Chris Wright, but Skapas and Wright can battle it out further. As we've had a move for P2 in the BMWs. So much overspeed on the exit from the chicane. Jan Yelitalo looking up the inside. Jorgensen leaving plenty of space, looking to try and secure the exit. And that's Jan Yelitalo up into P2 and now hounding the back of Jakub Borovic as they head into turn one. Well, Giuliano looking to apply the pressure, looking to close off the lines of Borovic, but in doing so has put himself under threat from Jorgensen, who takes advantage and gets himself back up into P2. Yeah, Borovic off the circuit. And up the inside goes Jan Giuliano. That was a bold move. Take P2. We have battling down into turn one in the Porsches. John Sawyer late on the brakes, trying to sweep it round the outside. Brave move to try and attempt, and Jeremy Thomas involved in this one as well, as they're nose to tail coming down through the crane of curves. As all three of them dip a wheel out into the dirt, making use of every little bit of track available to them, and then a little bit more. As Adakalaskan is going backwards down the order, is what happened here. Look up the inside of Jorgensen into the hairpin. And oh, well, that was a bump there from Jorgensen, which has sent Kalaskan round and to the back of the field. That was a little bit naughty there. As Rhys Tattersall has found himself in an absolute train of cars down in the back of the field. P11 at the moment. And this track doesn't seem too easy to overtake at, although saying that, that's sort of looking up the inside of Nitro, who gives him a little bit of a squeeze into the braking zone. And whoa, that is a big snap of oversteer from Tattersall as he tries to get the power down. And Nitro will stay ahead for now. As we have a battle for the lead in the TCX class. And you're also looking up the inside of Jakub Borovic. As Rhys Tattersall continues to make his way forward. Up to P10 now is our series champion. And closing on to the back of Bjorn King. Keep our eyes here on Jan Giuliano. Come into the first corner and head into the crane of curves. And we have side-by-side battling in the Porsches. And Jeremy Thomas and John Sawyer go side by side into the hairpin. As John Sawyer and Thomas Perello, and I think that is Peltari as well, dive off into the pit lane. So actually, Parry, Sawyer, Perello and Peltari all into the pits together. There's Rhys Tattersall, promoted now up into P5 with the pit stops. It's just Hef Martin to clear, and then has a 13.5 second gap ahead of him to the rest of the field. So we'll see what can Rhys Tattersall do once he gets into some clean air. As they pick their way through. You see the front of the Porsche field now picking up onto the back of the BMW. So this suggests why on that last lap a number of the Porsches opting to dive into the pit lane. That's right here, picking its way through the traffic. And now with how they're spread on track, with Ben Lopard and Balazs Fahir dive into the pits. The gap at the time of pitting was about 2 seconds between Lopard and Fahir. Be interesting to see if there is a difference in pit stop strategy between the two of them. We'll take a look at the stop statistics as Matthew Parry back out on track, stopped in his box for 30 seconds, so that does not seem like enough time to take tyres. So John Sawyer, Thomas Pirello and Ampa Peltari all stop for longer. Does seem like they have opted for fresh rubber. And that lead of Matthew Parry, well, not huge, as he comes out alongside Balazs Fahir. Fahir with a great run out of the pits. They come down through the crater coast side by side. Matthew Parry putting a couple of wheels out on the dirt. That has paid to his run onto the back of Fahir as they emerge P1 and 2 in this race. And Balazs Fahir stopped in his box 27 seconds. Definitely did not take fresh tyres the remainder of this race. So this is going to be interesting to see who out of Ben Lopard and Balazs Fahir make their strategy work. 18 minutes of this race remaining. And Balazs Fahir coming under pressure here from Matthew Parry. Jan Gilbertone has not taken his pit stop and finds himself now further down the order. What has happened with 717 car? Not much more that I can see, but find himself some way out of the running order. I'm not quite sure what happened there. As we have John Sawyer and Christopher Skapas going side by side into the hairpin. There's both drivers who have served their mandatory pit stop. I'm not sure why we're seeing John Sawyer quite so far down the order either. Is there an issue in the pit stops? There's Matthew Parry continuing to chase Balazs Fahir. That gap right about 0.7 seconds. As we have a little bit of traffic management down here in the depths of the GT2 class as Chris Fight and Christopher Skapas pick their way through the traffic. Skapas, an optimistic look to the inside, and well, I think it was always going to be a tricky place to try and go for a pass, and Skapas not making that one work. There's our net race leaders now back up into P2 and 3. Balazs Fahir doing well, holding on ahead of Matthew Parry. Last time around, laps from Fahir and Parry around the 129s. Thomas Pirello behind 128s. So about a second of a pace advantage for Thomas Pirello and Ben Lopard behind. So imagine reasonably soon we'll be seeing this pair start to storm up to the back of Fahir and Parry ahead. But I'm not sure if there are enough laps remaining for that advantage to really be capitalised on. They will be relying on a bit more tyre wear from our race leaders. Up in the top of the BMW class, it is Jorgensen leading Borovic and Svoboda. As Svoboda carrying a lot of speed through the bottom of the hill and just about managing to keep it on circuit. Now Matthew Parry's got that gap down to just 0.2 of a second, making every use of every millimetre of racing surface that he can. It does not seem like Matthew Parry's able to size up a passing opportunity on Fahey, especially not if he goes that deep into the hairpin. Right, and Scappa side by side again. They come through the chicane. These two really battling it out as they make their way through the BMW traffic. As Harlow finding himself in, at the moment, P3, but has now jumped Jorgensen and Lorenzon in the pit. Is the lead BMW of those that have pitted, Borovic and Svoboda, still yet to make their mandatory pit stop. As John Sawyer has caught on to the back of Fernandez Nitro, this for P8 in the race. Solid little battle down further down the order. There's back up at the front. Matthew Parry is sniffing under the rear wing of Balazs Fahey, looking for a way by. Could be some opportunities presented by the back marker traffic ahead. They descend their way through the corner curves. Harry having a glance to the inside at the bottom of the hill. Nothing really going on there. Svoboda has dived into the pits, leaving just Borovic of our BMW leaders still yet to make their mandatory pit stop. Just behind we also have a battle over P3 in the race. Thomas Perello and Ben Lopard now 6.5 seconds off of our race leaders, and mowing some grass is Thomas Perello. Sorry, Ben Lopard, as they dive through the chicane, and Ben Lopard, the one who wants to really lose out there, is off the circuit left, right and centre, and now has allowed Jeremy Thomas up the inside into the hairpin, but Thomas goes too deep and Lopard manages to hold on to the position. As, there is an incident with our race leaders. What has happened here between Matthew Parry and Balazs Fahey? and Parry carrying a bit too much speed around the corner into the back of Fahey. And now this really closes up our battle for the lead as they're picking their way through the back marker traffic. Thomas Pirello right on the back of Matthew Perry as Ben Lopard picks his way through this traffic as well. Oh, a little bit of a side swipe there from the BMW. Oh, and this is a horror show for Ben Lopard, as every car he makes contact with seems to be made of concrete and spins him around. And, well, barring any other sort of incident for Balazs Fahey, looks like he's pretty well locked into his P3 in the championship. And with a decent gap now, back to Matthew Parry, who has got to pay more attention to the car behind him. It's Thomas Pirello in just 0.3 of a second behind, looking like an apex. And that was just Matthew Parry allowing a little bit of caution there. And very nearly a very well done move by Thomas Pirello. As we have a battle for P3 in the BMWs, it is Jan Yelitalo and Jakub Borovic. There's Zaboda some way up ahead. Jakub Borovic goes defensive. And, oh, an absolute horror show. What has happened here? Cutting through the traffic, Balazs Fahey wide into, oh, and runs it wide out into the dirt, and our two contenders for P3 side by side on the track. Situation which I don't think we would have been expecting laps ago. And now Balazs Fahey side by side with Ben Lopard as they come down into the hairpin. And Rhys Tattersall also getting involved in this battle. They're picking their way through the BMWs with Ben Lopard now up into P4, and this puts him into prime position to take P3 in the championship away from Balazs Fahey. Underhill, Balazs Fahey allowing the Porsche of Tattersall through to go and attack Ben Lopard. And that is his opportunity, his only opportunity, I think, to try and claw this race back, as Matthew Parry runs wide at the top of the hill. And that allows Thomas Pirello through into the lead. What happened to Parry here is they all came through. Far wide of the apex there is Matthew Parry. And that's cost him 2 positions down to P3. Tumbles Matthew Parry. Still a sizable gap back to Lopard, Tattersall and Fahey. I think this is probably no opportunity for Fahey to crawl his way forward now, as carrying damage to that car and the worn tyres did not take new rubber at the pit stop. You can see Ben Lopard just driving away in the distance. Is the battle for the lead. Thomas Pirello and Ben Lopard, sorry, and Jeremy Thomas. Jeremy Thomas having to grab control of his car as he took too many wheels onto the dirt. Surprised we've not seen any drive-through penalties for track limits violations during this race, if I'm honest. There's been a lot of wheels out on the dirt. As Thomas Pirello gets on the blinkers, wants these cars out of his way, and BMW ahead, not really obliging. Was Jules Flint up ahead, Meyer van Dijk keeping wide, only allowing single file traffic of Porsches through, and that is a great relief to Thomas Pirello. As now Ben Lopard and Reece Tattersall side by side. We come into the final 4 minutes of this race. You see Blatchfey here has just slipped further and further back. Now the gap at 2.2 seconds. As Jan Rotolo has made his way past Jakub Borovic up into P16. Now just 0.4 seconds off of the race lead. As he looks, the inside as they climb the hill will turn to the outside. As Rotolo carries the speed through. Jorgensen bending well. Borovic also wanted to try and take advantage. They all get on the power, the long run down towards the chicane. And I think Jorgensen might find himself, Borovic might find himself boxed in there behind Jorgensen, as always going to be the case. As you can see now, Ben Lopard and Reece Tattersall catching on to the back of this battle for the lead. I'm not sure there's going to be much looking in the mirrors for this group of drivers. Girotalo tries to line up the exit as the Porsches pick their way past BMWs. This is all going to come down to who, well, can manage the traffic best for the Porsches, and really who gets lucky with the traffic in the BMWs. You often don't really get a say of when the car behind is going to go for the lunge. You can give them options, but they don't necessarily have to take them. It does look like Peltari opts in to take the outside line, running it through. Just 1 minute of this race remaining. Still battles to be decided in both our classes as Peter Jorgensen goes right over the gravel at the chicane. As Blatchfey here picks his way through. Jorgensen not going to be able to go for the apex, and this has allowed Girotalo to get side by side on the run down towards the final corner, and Girotalo ahead, braking in a straight line to the apex. And that is a change of the lead. And see what I mean with, as a slower car, you can just get unlucky with faster class trying to make their way through. And Jan Girotalo really profiting from being able to follow the Porsche of Blatchfey here through the corner. Whereas Jorgensen got pushed out wide. This is the battle to decide the lead in the Porsches, as Thomas Pirello currently leading the way. Has got Jeremy Thomas in close company, and Matthew Parry not far behind either. Just 2 corners remaining of this Donington Park Raceway. I don't think BMW going to cause much of a problem there for Pirello. He turns in the final. Maybe he was looking to cause some problems. Running very deep into the corner. And Pirello takes the win here at Donington, followed by Jeremy Thomas and Matthew Parry. Ben Lopard will bring it over the line for P4, which I believe will secure him P3 in the championship. Rhys Tattersall, starting from the back of the grid, managed to work his way up into P5. A very solid performance. With Safa Paltari in P6 and Balazs here in P7. We'll have to wait and see how things shake out with the drop points. As, oh, we got a little bit of carnage in the background there. There's Christopher Skapas going around. In the BMWs, it was not a battle for the lead that we were watching. As Svoboda, apologies, went sight unseen into P1 for the BMWs. Jan Yotalo taking P2 and Peter Jorgensen taking P3 in the end. Akad Borovic P4 with Jules Flynn in P5. And well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. This has been a exciting final race of our season.